later.
Shit, is it Joushi?
Yeah, there was the clip you made.
My bad.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
People call me all kinds of things.
It's
really sorry.
Joushi, I think is what Joushi is what Pound says.
Joushi.
Yeah. Of all the pronunciations, listening to Found is the most entertaining.
Alk Bakery.
Yep. Alk Bakery.
Really? McChunks.
I love him.
McChunks.
Mr.
Time.
You should just hit record and just let it come in on this.
Oh, it's already running. The record is already running. I've already got this.
Let's go. Cold open.
Absolutely perfect.
Hi folks, welcome to the Friend or Foe Lounge. I am your friendly neighborhood Shackcaster Shargan. I have some really awesome guests with me today. We have got Joushi from Rex. We have got the two members of RLS, Escape and Warleader. Guys, how are you doing? Because I know I have been having a great time just hanging out before broadcast.
Somebody has to go first. I don't know. I think at this point we're all smiling.
You know,
yep. Ready to talk about more League. Ready to continue to talk about League.
I honestly, I know that we switched over to doing cameras, but I think really you have the best photos. So
I know.
You just win. Right off
if you bring me on again, I will bring another one of the same quality.
Nice.
That is beautiful.
Unfortunately, my cup of peaches is all empty at this point, so I have no more snacks to be eating during the middle of this broadcast.
I am sorry, Kaiza. You're stuck without peaches.
No.
All right, so you know what? Let's just hop right into this. So RLS versus Gorilla Muffins. This was a pretty rough one. Just kind of like I remember playing through it, watching through it. I don't think I was in this one, luckily, so I didn't have to suffer. Just kind of right off of the bat on this draft, though. What do you guys think?
Oh, I can hear Rap Terror. That's what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, like to go through it, this is like a really standard like comfort pick. This is us trying to experiment a little bit and try and give Warleader a little bit more presence. We know obviously Gorilla Muffins is not the strongest team in the league, so we have the option to obviously we can't take it lightly because they were getting better, and obviously they did really well in the early game versus us. But this is we want to try some new stuff out and get used to playing some stuff in a competitive environment without completely like jeopardizing what we can do.
Right.
I was actually really impressed with part of this game because I feel like Bacon Pancakes is probably Girl's best player, and you guys basically took him out of the game, right? A lot of people, I think Rap Terror was the one casting and saying, oh yeah, Tom Kench is pretty decent into Volibear, and I was thinking, no. No, you cannot play this lane very well, and with how much time you guys tend to play around your top laner, it's very difficult for probably their strongest carry to do anything in this game, and it was really well done.
And we just keep getting the Volibear and Ziggs Flex pick, and we're gonna take it every time it's up. That's something we're pretty comfortable with. Yeah, so I put in an opportunity where I can do more than just play a tanky frontliner, and unfortunately I like immediately int away the opportunity in just a bad tower dive. Oh yeah, here it is.
Yeah, that was it. Right
there it is. And that was the start of our early game woes right here. Actually, that's not true because Penguin Soul's TP is already on cooldown, so we're already past the initial woe.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah. You have to tell us exactly what, because it's like you almost had it right there. Just one more auto attack.
Well, right. So what happens there is that I need to wait until Anti gets the stun to use my W. Because if we just have that little extra damage, he's dead, and I get out. But instead, I don't know, I just stay a little too long. I feel like there was an opportunity to turn there. I really underestimated the tower damage in the early game, and I underestimated slow on the Q.
Yeah.
But what it really comes down to...
It's the one time the towers actually do something is in the early game.
Right, I just need to wait for my top laner's stun to come down, and then it guarantees all my damage, and then the play's good instead of tragic.
You know, it's kind of funny. Kurlama almost does exactly what you did in the bot lane, staying under tower too long right there.
Yeah, and the thing with that gank is that it's like, I just want to give Demon Girl some props there because she managed to make it so then the Hecarim had to burn their flash so that he couldn't push me backwards, and not only saves my life on this gank, but forces the flash, and I don't even have to flash out of this as Ziggs, which is ridiculous because my W's on CD.
Can we comment on the fact that Hecarim has flash at all?
Yeah, we totally can. Hecarim has flash. Moving on.
Yeah, Hecarim has flash.
It should be Ghost. I think better.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
But I mean, also Hecarim gets knocked up there if he has Ghost. But yeah.
I've just
Yeah.
recently started picking up Hecarim, and so I didn't realize that Flash was not something you're supposed to have. Okay, I will fix
I
that.
mean,
Oh, just
it's
more
like-
damage from Ghost.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's. I wouldn't even say Flash is bad. I think it's just less optimal.
Mhm.
Like,
I
Like-
think. Good.
for some junglers that take Ghost, like Olaf, there's like an argument to take Flash,
Mhm.
and I think it's just that Flash Olaf and Ghost Olaf are like kind of two different champions.
Yeah, one of them
Hecarim-
can beat Jarvan and the other one can't.
right, right. But I think for Hecarim, it's less of that situation and more of Ghost just gives Hecarim more damage on the same opportunities
Mhm.
Yeah,
and doesn't need to take Flash. We'll find more opportunities with Ghost.
Yeah.
especially
be
once you get to
honest-
level 6.
I think Flash is Hecarim's third best summoner spell after Ghost and Ignite.
Yeah.
Just because like the times where you can use Flash as Hecarim are basically before level 6 you can use it to get over walls, and the other time that you use it is to get like a knockback angle. And typically if you use Ghost early enough, you don't need the Flash to do that because you're just fast enough and there's no champion who can really outmaneuver that if you're actually playing it properly. So it's more just like a familiarity thing, and I feel like as you get better and better with Hecarim, you realize more and more it's like, I just want the extra bit of damage so I can find those early kills and snowball, and Flash doesn't allow you to do that.
Very, very true. That makes a lot of sense. All right, yeah, and then pretty much like just as this game progressed, I do think that girl.
Wait, hold on. Can you play the Dragonsteel? Just for my ego.
For your ego. Which Dragon Steel was it? Was it the first?
It's Infernal.
It's
It's
the very
Infernal.
first.
The very
It's
first
the
one.
very first one.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like 11, 12 minutes.
Dominant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just for my ego.
Just for your
Nah,
ego.
back five. Back
Yeah,
five.
I'm going back. I'm going back. It's just slow.
Where is it?
It's right
Here we
Oh,
go.
here we go.
Yeah, they've already started it, so.
Yeah, and I think I said it on the interview, but the call for this is Warleader going, yo, should I go over and try and steal this? So it's like, nah, if you die, it's not worth, and then that happened.
Yeah.
That's just a little. Hold on. Did he have smite?
Nah, he just smited it down to 2 health.
Yeah, he
like,
smites it too.
right there.
Oh,
Or he
that's.
well, he smites it to 70 actually.
Yeah, he smites
Yeah,
it to
and then red buff
70.
pick.
Yeah, so it's like he
Yeah.
tried to smite it
20.
early to avoid
Yeah.
the damage from the Ziggs bomb, and it just didn't quite do enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I mean,
wasn't-
We've said this a bit. Gorilla Muffins, right? They have a couple like mechanical moments where they can sometimes shine, but they are just probably the least coordinated team in the league right now. And so, you know, that's a situation there where it's like you actually smite if you're worried about a steal with like both Jin's fourth shot and the smite at the
Yeah.
same time. And I feel like most of the teams in the league could have coordinated that, but I don't think Gorilla Muffins is currently thinking about that. So there's a lot of like small optimizations that I think this team can make that will rocket them through the standings if they can
Yeah.
make the adaptations that we just haven't seen it happen yet.
So, as a sub who's been there for a couple of like the 5-mans and listened in on some of the Frozen and Raf's coaching sessions, it's still there's a lot of like base mechanical stuff there. The team is coordinating and picking up together. It's still very much you're right.
Yeah.
It's that whole meshing as one whole cohesive unit and getting that down and kind of knowing where everyone is and being on the same page. So. Like,
Yeah.
once they get that, then they can start working on the little bit more of okay, now we got to time the fourth shot and smite together.
Yeah.
Deal this
And-
much damage.
and the thing is I think that improvement is visible at this point. Like, and I'm saying that in part right because we got dumpstered early game, but like also in part because that wasn't stuff that was like cheap to get. That wasn't like that was us making a bad play and girl having the right reaction and being like, okay, well hold on, we can actually get something out of this. The issue is that they haven't. I think it's a lot of what we had in Mythic last season where they just haven't had as many situations where they're even going into those middle stages of the game, and so you have this maybe not necessarily a lead, but you're even and you don't know what to do from that point because you're so used to playing behind, and so they just play super risky as a result, and they lose their lead.
Yeah, and straight up, like again, we gave props to Demon Girl earlier. I want to give them props again because like the plays that I've been seeing them put out on Rakan and all of their other, like I think Leona, they also had some really good solar flares that were.
Yeah,
just,
she's
like,
been playing
perfect.
incredible.
Dude, it's been fantastic. Like just way to
Yeah.
go. That's just been awesome. Other than that, I don't think there was anything that really stood out to me in this game in particular. Got a
No,
couple
not
of,
really.
like. Yeah, it's like you got these fights where it's like you go in one at a time.
Yeah, one at a time.
So it's like it does allow girl to get some picks, but at the same time it's like they need them, but y'all are able to just kind of run away. So we're here now, going to the next one, which was Terracotta versus STC.
Whew.
Yeah.
Everyone
yeah,
feels
I
a collective
remember this
pain
one.
here.
Uh-huh. So this, I believe, was SEAL Team Chris's first outing onto
It was.
to the Rift. It was like their debut game, and it was kind of a game.
Yeah.
Mostly Game of League of Legends.
Just looking at this comp right here, it kind of makes me question things.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll say this. I think if Terracotta were to play this draft against any of the other top 4 teams, they would lose.
Oh,
Uh,
I
yeah,
don't have
okay.
a question about that.
This composition does no damage
At all.
until level 11,
mhm.
right? Until Kale comes online, they cannot win a single fight because they're not going to ever get through any front line. Luckily for Terracotta, they have much better laners than SEAL Team Chris, so it doesn't matter that your composition doesn't work super cohesively. They're just able to find like all these individual advantages, and Tien's Kale was winning pretty consistently against STC Songo in the
Mhm.
top lane. Like, Shen should not be allowed to make that taunt. Sion's supposed to bring down the Q before Shen even goes in, so
Mhm.
it's very difficult for STC to come back when they're just looking at this massive mechanical disadvantage. And Terracotta, very impressive that they were able to showcase that, but I also feel like it's a lot of confidence, so we don't really get a good idea of how Terracotta is going to be playing for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I honestly, like, I think you got to give a lot of props to Antunes in this, just because him has been doing fantastic. He is kind of like one of those returning players, and his Nautilus is terrifying. And I think people need to keep it from showing up more often. But yeah,
Well, yeah, you
It's
also have to
hard.
get him off the Thresh and the Blitzcrank. He's just
Yep.
really good at these hook jams.
he really likes.
I
the
mean,
jams.
honestly, the thing I remember most from this game is just Lightning Soul dying over and over and over again, and then getting these opportunities to finally do something, and then the Zenith Blade just kind of goes wide,
Mhm.
and on like point blank Zenith Blades that was just like, oh man, oh buddy.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
it almost felt as though like not just that like obviously SEAL Team Chris hadn't had any games together at this point. They said that openly going into the game. We haven't had any practice. We haven't played together side, but it looked like a lot, honestly, and I'm not doing this to try and talk down on them or anything, but it looked like a lot of them just hadn't played in a while.
Mhm.
It wasn't just that their team play was unpracticed, but their gameplay looked unpracticed, and that might be true. But you know, I don't think, obviously this game hopefully isn't representative of what they will be doing. It'll be something to see how much they can improve forward from this game. But yeah, this game,
Right.
I hope for their sake it's not representative, because it just looked discoordinated and unpracticed.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I will say I am far preferring the fact that we have SEAL Team Chris in here as to
Yes.
what we were dealing with before.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
No question.
Props
Yeah.
to
You
them
know.
for being there.
I still feel pretty good on Rex. We kind of have a pride on the fact that we have effectively tilted 3 teams out of the league already. We played one
Wow.
game against AGS and they're gone,
Mhm.
right? We,
Yep.
we
That
actually
was it.
scrimmed CFG before the tournament started. I believe 2 or 3 of those players quit before the tournament started.
Mhm.
And after we played Terracotta, they replaced 3 of their members. So there's something about playing Rex that will immediately force teams to like reevaluate things, and hopefully STC continues to play because Songo, I know you're doing a lot of work. Really appreciate that you're able to find like a team on such short notice to play.
I think you guys are honestly like the best like kind of litmus test I think teams can have to kind of know what to expect with the league itself, because a lot of things like behind the scenes is it basically chalks up to they didn't realize what they were getting into with the quality of the players in these games, the time commitment, that sort of thing, which I think is something Friend or Foe has that's kind of unique, where it's just it's almost like playing in a more professional amateur sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's you're playing in an organized setting where a lot of people really care. This is, for a lot of people, this isn't just like a fun pastime, and it is a fun pastime. But for a lot of people, this is very serious, and they take a lot of pride in playing well, and they take a lot of hurt when they play poorly. And I think that's really awesome. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, just playing against Rex for some of these teams has been like a surprise. It's like, oh, this is what we're actually doing right now. This isn't just. It's almost. you show up at somebody's house and you find out that they're way better at a casual video game than you do. Like a lot of people are just playing this casually still, and there's no idea that there's a competitive level.
Yeah, it's like your buddy pulls out Street Fighter 4 and he's
Yes.
like, "Hey, let's play some Street Fighter."
Yes.
And you're like, "Yeah, sure. I played a couple of games of that." Little did you know he's been playing 6 hours straight every day for the past 3 months.
He's been traveling for tournaments.
Yep. He's gone to Evo and everything, and you're like, "God, why didn't you warn me?"
Yep.
I wanted an easy win.
See, that's why you got to be the friend who doesn't say anything about your fighting habits. They're just like, "Oh, yo, do you play any Smash?" And I'm like, "Well, a little bit."
With that, we'll go ahead and continue on here. Next game was CFG versus Rex. So,
Woo.
you said you played one game against them before the season started. How did this game...
and it's a very different roster.
Okay, it's a very different roster. But so how did they kind of match up this time? Ooh.
So let's back up to the draft. We were looking at CFG as one of the weaker teams in the league. We were not expecting a whole lot from them. And so if you only take the top half of our drafts, where you end at Trundle, super happy with what we've already done. And then we're like, I want to play Jace.
Yeah.
I feel like having a little bit of spice, right? See if we can do things a little bit further from what we normally play. And it's like, let's see if we can play a topside game. And I think we played rather well, but the thing about this game that I felt was kind of unique is Bill the Pony is probably an individually weaker player than Sonafine, right? If you just look at their ranks, Bill's a gold player, Sonafine's a mid-high plat player, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. But Bill the Pony does so much work for this team behind the scenes in terms of his shot calling and ability to move people around the map that they actually had semblances of setups throughout this game that they did not have throughout most of the first couple of games, that they didn't have before the season started. And because of that, because they actually had a setup and we had really garbled comms, we actually threw really hard against these guys from a super dominant position. And I have to give Bill in particular, partly because I know him personally, but I have to give him props for I'll bring this team that has struggled to coordinate into a position where they can even make us sweat.
I mean, the games that Bill is in for CFG, I think you can really see a difference in how they play.
Yeah, I think that's down to Bill being more comfortable just playing in that competitive setting and playing with the Satis and just being ready. I'm curious as to why CFG is 0-2 in this clip. But
I'm not particularly sure, and so that's kind of one of those things.
Yeah, no,
that's production diff.
Production diff. Yeah, no, and I think there was a lot. I mentioned it precast, but there was a lot of weight on this game because if this game had gone in the favor of coin flip, we would have had a completely broken league where all of the top 4 teams had beaten each other, but then lost to the people that the person who beat them had lost to.
Yep.
So the record would have been completely ridiculous if coin flip had won this game. So there was actually a lot sitting on this, and I know that they went into this with a lot of effort to try and take you guys as hard as they could, and they did a really good job, honestly.
I honestly want to give props to a little bit of Sadist as well, right? I think a lot of people look at this team and they pretty quickly understand how strong Sadist is relative to the field of AD carries in this tournament, and he's a big part of a lot of their success. But just seeing how he was able to move around in this game and how aggressively he would go in with Bill and Maxaroni whenever they would say hey, we're fighting now, was honestly really impressive, right? It's the kind of coordination that we're starting to see more of, and I think I said this before, there's a very clear top 4 in this league right now, but CFG is the team that's kind of a dark horse and can threaten to take games off of, I think, everybody above them in the standings if they have a good day.
Yeah, I think Sadist also just looks really good on Tristana, and it's just a great champion for him, and he's able to help affect the game so much more. Especially when, one of the reasons that I really like the way Bill the Pony looks on this team isn't just because of the way he affects the communication and the shot calling, but also the champion pool is much more meta, and I think that really helps the team a lot when it comes to their fighting and how they want to play the game.
Oh, poor Bill.
He's checking the wrong bush, unfortunately.
The mid gank just prior to this was so good, by the way. Hey, we're talking a lot about CFG. That that gank that you guys had in the mid lane with the Leona and the pillar and all that stuff, like just the times
yeah.
and the roam is all perfect. Like that's something. Getting dives off in this league has been huge for some teams, and obviously that's a very light dive that you go for right here. Like this is only barely under turret. You just follow the flash or anything like that. But ganks like this is what wins games. You can do this a few times. You can kill the same person, just take one person out of the game, and that feels pointless because you're getting less gold for it. But if you can do this consistently, and you guys seem to be able to, Yubi seems to be able to. Obviously, you're talking to Luna. But doing this consistently, it's like, oh, you're only getting a little bit of gold. Yeah, but you're making every fight 4v5.
Yeah.
Right? It's so big, and you guys are like one of the teams that's been able to do that and just like get successful ganks off like that, coordinate that type of stuff, and that is something teams should be looking to do more. Just get those multi-person ganks, get that support active, get the mid laner roaming, whatever it is, stand in a bush on a pink ward and catch Bill. But like that is so easy to overlook because it looks so free, but it's so influential.
It is. The other thing, I kind of want to go back to the like champion pools thing that Sherrigan was talking about, because it is. I was actually talking with my mid laner ZenZed yesterday about this, and we were kind of shocked about the fact that most of the time in your plat capped leagues, you're gonna have like one or two dedicated assassin players. And that just doesn't exist in this league, right? The fact that there are no assassins, there are very few even Camille players in this league that are just gonna be like, oh, your 80 carry is not safe. We're gonna go out and kill them. That just isn't a thing that teams have to play around. And so it's, we say that Build a Pony plays like this more meta, and at the professional level and like Academy and Challenger Plus, I absolutely agree. Bill's champion pool is better, but I actually think they're not playing to Sonafine's champion pool, because I think her champions are actually very strong at this level. Both Sona and Seraphine, super, super broken. Yumi, also very, very strong if you have like one person you can just jump on top of, because a lot of teams, like, I'll just say this, Rex is very good at setting up fights in even-ish positions, right? If we are slightly ahead, slightly behind, we are going to be better at setting up for those situations because we know how to team fight as a team. But teams that just have like one really fed dude with a Yumi on top of them, there are very few teams in this league that have any idea how to consistently deal with that, and it's not something that CFG has started doing.
Let's see here.
So this was the game that we hyped up prior. And Sherrigan, do you know the story about why this was such a tense match between these teams?
Honestly, I kind of I'm aware of it, but not entirely.
Yeah. No, I was just curious because, like, as far as I know, there was some players that were swapping back and forth, and it seemed like there was some talks between these teams. But I was just interested if anybody had actually picked up, like, where the rivalry started, because I missed that.
The issue, or the thing that I heard, is that Pro DH. I don't remember which team they were on, but they swapped from one team to the other.
They were on Girl originally.
Oh, they were on Girl, and so they switched to PTP, and I don't think they actually played in this game, but they were having like real issues with like scheduling and trying to get practices happening at the right time, and so because it just wasn't working out, they just parted ways and they found a team that allowed them to play.
Yeah, and I also know that Pure Llama used to be on PTP.
Yep.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Pure Llama was a mid-season switch. And
there was some switching around, some players swapping all over the place. Girl actually has a really funny story as well, where originally, I think it may have been Pro. I'm not positive, but someone, like, basically they had a couple of members before the season started who left and joined the team that got nixed before the season started. What I do want to say, SCHNECKY, low-key switch.
SCHNECKY? Yeah.
SCHNECKY? Like,
he's great.
Oh my god. It's fantastic. Like, I was like...
Yeah, I felt awful.
Yeah.
Like watching this commentary and just like seeing somebody show up, and obviously it can't be the first time he's doing this type of thing, right? But he shows up, really, really clear enunciation. I know I talk too fast. This guy was on the ball with all this type of stuff, staying excited, all this stuff. And I know that we should be talking about the players because this was an important game for both teams, but you can't miss that. SCHNECKY did such a good job commentating this game, and like got, I think, other people interested in it, even like if there was like low parts. Like obviously this is a game that went pretty long time without First Blood.
It was like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and like just keeping it active, keeping it interesting, and really like big props there. That's not easy to do all the time, and that's something that the casters in this league struggle with. And I know that Academy casters like, oh well, whatever, but like really good job.
The downtimes are always the hardest.
Yeah, we know SCHNECKY actually. We didn't know that he was casting for this, and so we just kind of popped into Twitch chat and we're like, oh hey, we know that guy, and he just like pops in. He does like a lot of other like minor leagues and like streamer showdown kind of thing. So he definitely does other casting stuff. I'm not familiar with Lolo outside of FOF, but it sounds like he has like some kind of experience in
Smash.
in Europe. Oh,
Yep.
Smash. Okay, gotcha. But yeah, SCHNECKY, Lolo, good job on the casting together. For this game, I remember watching it, and I think we kind of saw one. So Rex has not played against PTP yet. They forfeited their game against us, and we just haven't played them at all. So I only get my impressions based on what I've seen. Also, sorry about like our car alarms. I live like right next to a police station. Anyway, this game felt very solo queue. I'm gonna be straight up. There was not a whole lot of like obvious coordination going on, and because of that, the champions that PTP selected, I think, are really good at this level, where Xerath really punishes teams who can't close out relatively quickly, because Xerath sucks in lane. Xerath is not good in the mid game, but hey, you get to like 20 minutes, suddenly it is very hard to get a fight started because of how far away he's hitting you from.
Yeah, no, and I had credited the previous day. I'd credited Girl for playing less solo queue, and I think that's something that they definitely started with, is that they were a team that was drafting for my lane. This is what I want to play. This is my lane. I'm not thinking about team composition. I'm not thinking about anybody else getting gold. I'm thinking about just how I'm going to do the best in my lane. And that was something that was really obvious in their draft for I want to say the first 2 weeks. And then past that, they started developing some stuff. I don't know if that's with the addition of Pure Llama that they've like actually started developing some draft. And this game, again, this is a functional draft. You have the Syndra Shinsao that's meant to work together. You have Vayne Leo that can work together. Tom Kench can help protect your Vayne. This is a composition, but then they played it in the same style that they have been playing their games. And that. Maybe it's a sign of nerves, because this game might have meant a lot to them or something like that, but it felt like a bit of a regression. Meta relevant, and like you can play around her.
You say meta relevant, and I can't remember who it was, but someone in the green room said, "Why are they taking Syndra? Syndra is so weak right now."
Was that ASIM?
No, it wasn't ASIM. It was probably Fang over Fang.
Oh, well, yeah. So, Syndra, regardless of what you do to Syndra can be 0-10, Syndra can be nerfed. As long as Syndra still can press ulti and then E in a team fight and stun an entire team for a better part of 2 seconds, I think she's still relevant.
See, that
Syndra,
was my response, was the CC.
Syndra, like, rapidly climbs in relevance the more coordinated your team is, because she thrives in situations where she can get these setups around dragons, can hit you from Fog of War and just blow up one of your squishies when they come in. In terms of like our level, I would say that even at like the higher levels in this league, it's very hard for our teams to actively utilize Syndra unless you are a really good laning Syndra and just like manufacture your own leads. I think it's cool that they're like shifting their champion pools and now have coaching. And I also have to note that like whenever you learn something new, you kind of get worse at it for a little while because you're changing up what was working for you, right? It's like you're trying to break the rules that you had made for yourself. So that might be part of where this regression that you were mentioning is coming in, is just they're in the decline, right? They haven't yet found like their new footing. So I think this team will continue to get better, but I don't know if it's going to be in time for playoffs.
Yeah, that is. I think that unfortunately, I don't know if playoffs are in the cards, but I know that they're definitely going to fight tooth and nail for it.
Yeah,
if they are to get to playoffs, they're going to be kicking themselves about that game. That game would be really important for a playoff run.
Right.
And a game that nobody is kicking themselves about.
Yes. So just go ahead. Tell me what you want to say.
Look, honestly, okay, so we took this game pretty seriously going in because we watched the Terracotta game, but we also knew that we were playing against I think 3 players switched between the Terracotta game and this game. So we were just like, we don't know how good this team is. So we're going to take it seriously. Like, we're going to go into a real draft. We're going to go in with real plans for everything. And then 2 things happened. One, people didn't realize that Doc has an Amumu now. And Amumu is a very strong support if you know how to play with it. And he kept talking about the waddle gap. He's like, waddle off, you throw out a bandage toss, you lock somebody down. And we saw him get a level 1 kill, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the other part of this is I feel like a lot of teams, as you guys kind of alluded to earlier, you actually like need to be practiced in League of Legends in order to make like these team coordinated plays work. They didn't quite feel like they were fully woken up, and I think Sherigan, you said this as like the first thing is like they've given Joushi Gnar, right? Like this is a dangerous start, right? It's not impossible. There are ways to beat my Gnar, but it is very hard to put yourself in a situation where you're giving me my most played champion over 6 years at this point.
And why would you?
Find a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like,
Why would you? Like, regardless of whether or not you think you can comfortably beat Gnar, all right? It's one ban of 5, one ban of 3 in this early stages of the game to just not think about that, right? Surely in mental stress alone, it is worth it, right?
Yeah. Just take it away, and like seriously, I think like straight. You're right. It's like as soon as the Gnar gets locked in, I think it's like when I'm just like, oh, there it goes. It's the same thing with anti and set. You let him get set, you're making it harder on yourself than you have to.
Yeah, I feel like on the one hand, you know, there's a lot of narratives in this league and at higher levels like don't give this person this champion, right? And on the one hand, I get it, but at the same time, they took away. If you just look at our OPGGs and that's how you're scouting, like it makes sense. I have like a 66% win rate on this champion over like 30 games or something. I have like a 5+ KDA. But then you look at our other players. Rafa has like a 4 KDA and a 60% win rate on Italy. Zenzen has a 60% or like 70% win rate on Akshan with a 4.0 KDA as well, and it's like twice as many games. Doc has 3 times as many games on Thresh as anything else, right? Like, yes, we have these like apparent one tricks, but I'll also say, as with all the other top 4 teams, none of us are actually one tricks, right? There are things that we are going to be able to play. You have to find something that is going to stylistically work for you. And my Gnar, I'll say it, right? Like, I am probably the weakest laner on Rex Regalis. You can try and attack me, but the entire reason why I have a place on this team is 1, I founded the team, and 2, because I don't lose lane very hard. It is very rare that you can put me significantly far behind, and RLS did it, and they were able to win a game because of it. But when I'm on Gnar, it is virtually impossible to do that. Like, you no longer have a place to attack.
And I think that's another one of those times where teams not, and obviously this is STC, so it's not totally fair to get on them for not being able to research and practice and all this type of stuff. But I think that's another time where like teams, like my Helios gets banned every game, which is odd, right? Because teams are, what's happening there is teams are looking at match history, like you say, they're just looking at like OPGG, what are the top numbers here, and not actually going into looking into even what has this person played recently. This person should be practicing for our game that's coming up in less than 24 hours right now. What are they playing right now? What are they trying to win with? And I don't think that that's a lot of effort to put yourself through to be like, oh, you know, what's currently happening. And obviously, again, I don't want to give Chris or any of his teammates any trouble for that type of stuff, but I don't think a lot of teams are doing that, because I've been given shocked reactions when I told people, hey, I've looked at 10 of your solo queue games this week.
Because I don't do all of it, but I probably do a majority of Rex's drafting stuff. And I'll be honest, like when I look at your team, when I look at everybody's team, the first things I look at, one, is there any evident one tricks, right? Do like you have a clear best champion? And then the other thing we look at is like, do you play anything weird, right? Like we are going to beat most teams in a standard gameplay, but if you shows like, oh, you play a lot of, I don't know, what's something weird, a lot of poppy jungle, Nunu mid, right? We're gonna ban that, because like, how do you play against that? We don't know.
You guys, the team that banned my Skarner?
I don't remember. Maybe.
No, that was PTP.
That was PTP. But like, because if you just OPGG me, I look like a Skarner Diana 2 trick, which are those are just not the champions I play in a team environment.
Yeah, like they're good. But they're also very known quantities, right? Like they're very standard things, and I feel like Gnar is kind of in that category. So is Thresh. Like, yeah, you can ban it against us, but you also know how. I guarantee you know how to play against these champions. You've seen them 100 times before. You need to be a bit more worried about what happens when Zane brings out his Akshan, or Zenzen brings out his Akshan, or when there's a couple other things that I kind of don't want to like
Yeah.
dox myself on stream.
I mean,
We'll see.
See,
Yeah.
for me, it's the Amumu support. Like, that's one of those things that as soon as I saw him getting the 2 bandage tosses, it's like, oh, he's gonna do great in the bot lane as a support. He'll do fantastic. And Found was basically, nah, he's not. He's absolutely not. And then the level 1 happened, and I was like, you see?
Oh, I'll tell you what, that is still an ongoing discussion, even amongst like academy plus coaches, like a lot of the casters. I think it's very strong, but Smacks, who's not only another academy caster, but he's also like historically like a D2 plus support. He's like, I don't think this champion's any good. And so it's unclear, right? Like what the higher level teams are going to be doing with it. At our level, having an Amumu at 15 minutes, yeah, sign me up for that. If I can just, if I can play like Thresh for the first 15 minutes and just like swap out for an Amumu after that, I'll do it every time. The only question is, how do I get an Amumu to be in my game at 15 minutes? And right now it's support.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I know that there's an ADC ranking coming out at some point, right? Like they're ranked top laners in the last PR. And the Anti's above me. Unlucky. But Alk Battery is convinced that the only AD carry that's better than him in this tournament is Mr. Chunks.
Interesting. That's fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
He's had 2 very good games with us. I've played in a different tournament with him as well.
I've had 2 very good ultimates this season, so I mean.
See, the only one I can think of is that of Helios ultimate.
Oh my god, hold on. Has anyone seen that?
There you go.
Share again. Look just under the cataclysm in that picture. You see that like red highlighted circle?
Let's see here. The one that you
You're like
sent
trash
me.
talk or something.
No, I'll just send it to you. It's been in trash talk.
Oh, let's go.
Oh my goodness.
There you go. So you see that like red highlighted circle just underneath the cataclysm there?
Oh my god.
All right, you see how Aquapair, Riri, and Cam are all on top of each other right now? I want everybody to know that immediately after this, Cam flashes on me, 2 shots me because I have no health.
Let's go.
That all hits nobody.
All right.
That was so sad.
Jesus Christ! Just looking at that, oh my god, that's rough. All right,
that was one of the 2 good ults. What was the other one?
The other one was the Senna one that was legitimately good during the INT game. Yeah.
So what do y'all think of INT? Just straight up, because they played in this one against Coin Flip.
I adore your drag racing analogy.
Drag racing.
Yeah,
it is perfect. They are 0 to 100 to 0 again. They have their moments. I mean, obviously in this game, I like that they put Bow Explode on a carry because having done the amount of scouting that I did, Kenny has never looked comfortable in the hyper carry position. It's just not seemed to suit him. And maybe that's something that they've worked on. Kenny does an amazing job this game. Evolved Noob, again, is somebody that they don't seem comfortable on the carry position. They can play something like a P2, but they really seem to need Bow Explode to be the one calling the shots. And I think that this is a standout game where Kenny does a really good job. I know Kenny's got great KDA in the season, but like just seeing them play as a team, they very much need Bow Explode to be in a position where either he's comfortable enough that he can create good shot calls, or he's comfortable enough that the team can play around him. Seeing Kenny do as well as he did, if I'm remembering this game correctly, I think he had a really, really phenomenal game. Was really good to see from INT because they have been so inconsistent in the past, and the fact that they can do something that kind of moves away from what I would call their norm and play this well is reassuring.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're like a really good as a coordinated team. I think they got that teamwork on the level of the other top teams in the league. I think that if they can like unlock Kenny to actually start to carry some of these games, then INT is going to be like really, really, really scary. I think right now, like their playmakers are mainly Broccoli and Bow Explode, and that's just where the comfort is, and that's where a lot of like the power plays on this team come from. And if they can find that in other parts of their team, they're going to be really scary.
I'm surprised you guys haven't mentioned Jeff yet, because I feel like Jeff, I mean, he's playing Braum, so he's not doing anything flashy in this game, but he is definitely one of the strongest supports in the league, right? He just stands in good places.
I think that's because he's a recent addition, right? So I think that change in the bot lane could be in part to due to him as well.
Well, and I think also the support he's replacing, which I believe is He Who Slops, was previously also one of the best supports in the league. So I think it's easy for me to just be like, oh yeah, he's that new support.
Yeah. I think with this team, they might be the most individually talented roster in the tournament. Maybe second to Terracotta, but they are also probably the ones that rely most on their individual talent, and it kind of hurts them against a lot of the other top teams where if they aren't strong, they can't do anything because they aren't as coordinated as a lot of the other top 4.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, the biggest points of coordination that you really see from INT is getting vision control and then just waiting for a push in. Like just trying to find those situations where it's not so much that they have found a moment where they can coordinate so much as they can break the coordination of the other team and then just put themselves in a situation where it's individual skill that matters more.
Rival chaos really well.
Yeah. But I think that could also serve to why they struggle to find carry positions in traditional carry roles and not somewhere like jungle where Bo can walk around the map and thrive on those chaotic situations and get gold.
Like, good. Actually,
I've got an interesting question for you guys. What role in this tournament do you think is on average the strongest?
jungle, without a doubt.
Jungle, really? Okay.
That's my call. I mean, I think top is also pretty stacked. Man, support's pretty stacked too.
Do you mean
I
in
would say
terms
support,
of
honestly?
I've had Rex has had some games that have been ADC pivotal that have been really big, and then obviously there's the games where UB will do that. But I think outside of that is it's not super common to see the bot lane be dominant. So I would say that generally it's jungle top.
I think I would put jungle first. I think there's a lot of really good junglers in this league that do a lot of the legwork in terms of getting their teams going and in terms of getting their macro and their strategies going that I really like and appreciate. But when I think about all the different supports that I think are great in this league, there are numerous. So I think I probably just have more insight into jungle, and that's why I feel that way. But I think the supports in this league are also really good.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'd definitely say it's like a tie between support and jungle, just because of what you said about the whole controlling and affecting the rest of the game, because they're enabling their ADCs to pop off. Like when the ADC does have an excellent game, it's usually because the support was just absolutely crushing it in laning phase, or if the mid laner or top laner is starting to be really crazy, that's because the jungler was in the enemy jungler invading and getting picks and forcing them off of camps, and so like they were the ones who set that up. So it looks like the playmaker was top mid or ADC, but it's actually one of those two other roles.
I'm gonna agree. I think that jungle is probably the highest impact role in this league, as it probably should be, right? But I actually think that the most individually talented role across the league is top lane, right? If you look across the teams, why people aren't having like these really big impacts in top lane is because we can't get advantages off of each other, right? It's really hard to exploit each other. And I think that's part of why we're not seeing very many situations where the top lane just blows open the game, is because there's no real weak top laners. Like even on like coin flip, Pole Vulture is pretty good. On Gorilla Muffins, like Bacon Pancakes is pretty good. I haven't played against PTP, so I don't know there, but like Anti quite good. Shield Valor is pretty good. I like to think I'm pretty good, right? Like there is no weak top lane. Right. And so I think it's just an interesting thing where you have different situations where yes, the jungles are very impactful because we have some super divergent styles in jungle, but in top lane I feel like we can't exploit each other. It's too hard.
Okay, I can't see it. Look at where we found ourselves.
Hey,
actually, can we drop the stream?
You wanna drop the stream?
I don't think this game it just like doesn't matter. We can go talk.
To talk honestly about the TGRLS game, right? This comp that we've put together is not what we normally play. It is not to our strengths at the moment, but it is almost identical to what we played against them last time, specifically in the top 3 picks. And what this is a lot of us just making sure that Antunes can't play something that we know he can dominate the game on, and thus goes Lulu with Caitlyn, which was a bit odd.
To put me under the bus specifically, I feel like the way that I played a lot of these team fights was honestly just quite poor.
Yeah, we didn't play exactly to how the team composition works, but the thing is we have a comparable team composition. The difference is that Terracotta's team comp, in my opinion, is a bit whack, and they played it so well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that your engage being Udyr Ornn is odd. I think that your damage dealer being Caitlyn boosted up by Lulu is odd. Orianna, obviously, really, really solid laner. Putting in mono array is super safe. You don't want to give anything away. It's your first round on red side. Totally fair. I think that this is once again a situation. It's very similar actually, and I like seeing this game is so much higher quality from both teams than the first game of TG versus RLS. Both teams play way better, and it's funny because the result is almost identical. First of all, I hit that ultimate, but this is another game where, as RLS, grab that early objective pressure, grab the early gold lead. Or sorry, we didn't get early, or we got heralds, but not dragons.
Yeah.
But we had the early lead, and then TG turns it around and has a very solid mid-late game where they catch some picks, they catch us making mistakes and capitalize on it as hard as possible. And it was kind of nice to see that kind of circular continuation of how we continue to play. But I don't think that this game is representative of what we can do as a team, and I don't think this is representative of TG either, because their composition is so off.
This
one where like everyone
Not
almost dies.
This one is awful.
Yeah, this
team fight
is
so trash.
I play this so terribly.
Yeah, this fight
Across
is
the board. You guys, both teams play this team fight like absolute garbage.
this fight is 1 for 0. Plus dragon on side of RLS, which sounds like a retreating fight where we disengage. No, we're pushing into their jungle right now. That is how the team fight played out. Look at that amazing stun. Look at where I am. What?
Yeah, this fight absolutely tragic, but it's not this fight that I want to look at. I think it's the next dragon or the previous dragon. There's one of these dragons that I specifically looked at, and I'm kind of curious what you guys think I would say about like watching this game.
Oh, yeah, this team. I just remembered it. Yep. Okay, go ahead.
You get to see things here on why Rex is the best team in the league, and neither of these teams are. Both these teams are good, but why Rex should beat both these teams more than 50% of the time. So TG have absolute total control of this dragon, right? And then can we play this through at like half speed?
Absolutely.
I'd recommend muting it because the sound is going to sound awful.
Yeah.
On half speed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. So actually, I control the audio separately whenever I do the edit.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
whatever works.
Yeah, it's
So, look how TG are setting up for this fight, right? And look at what champions they have. Right? How should they be setting up for this fight?
Front to back.
Yeah,
Not
but more
this.
specifically, think
Well,
about the
Caitlyn
geography.
traps.
Think about the geography. They just let you guys walk into the fucking river.
Yeah, why
What?
is there not Caitlyn traps there?
Why are
Why is
they
there
not
Caitlyn
controlling
trap?
that?
Yeah, why is
Why
there
is
no
Or not
Ori
playing
ball?
Pixel?
Yeah,
Why is there no
Like-
ball there?
yeah.
This fight should not be close. And props to Demon Girl for doing this several times with the Braum Shield and denying the Ornn. But you guys should have never been able to walk into this.
And look how
Right.
separated the team fight is now. Right?
Yeah.
Like this team fight is practically 1v5, and then I'm first person in to get damage to back up anti.
Yeah.
And then now the rest of our engage comes through, right? And nobody's died yet going through this team fight. Now ultimates are starting to go down.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about, right? Where Rex, we set up our team fights, right?
Yep.
If you listen to our comments ever, we're like, hold the choke, hold the choke, hold the choke. They are not allowed to walk in. They're not allowed to walk in. Hold the choke or in tank, take in front, take in front, take in front, right? This is the kind of things that we're talking about. And in this situation, if you just replace TG with Rex, RLS does not get to walk into this dragon. This dragon is not contestable at all.
I think that probably going into like after that fight, I think TG and RLS both think TG's winning. I don't think anybody thinks it's only by 1k. Right? Like
Yeah.
there's so little in it. And I think a lot of that is down to it being on top of the Caitlyn. But yeah, 7 HP. You know, like That fight happens, and that's wild. And then what happens from here is TG has, like when I said that they played their composition better, they played this even game so much better than we did. And that's somewhere where I want to say RLS as a team has to grow, because then it's less self-centric. But as a team, RLS needs to grow in these we are even situations, because we are strong. Like in scrims, we're not unaccustomed to coming back from more than a 10k gold like deficit. That's not something that happens often, but it's not something that is like, wow, how did that happen? We've done that a few times. We're not stranger to winning games with a gold lead that we've developed really early. A PTP game is the great example of that. This is foreign to us, where we're in the situation where it's very even. And I think that this is where TG really capitalizes and does the best job of, okay, we know that we can't play anything risky. Let's try and play map rotation. Let's try and play vision control. Let's put them in situations where the disadvantage isn't in the gold, the disadvantage isn't in the items, it's raw in positioning and coordination. And they did a really good job of breaking us up, especially in the later team fights. There's 2 team fights that we throw around Baronish.
Because I do agree that it felt like you guys were kind of struggling to formulate a plan in this, but I also don't want to say that Terracotta were very obviously way better than you at that, because you'll notice like they walked into mid lane, they tried to siege this mid lane outer turret with Baron and failed like on 3-4 waves in a row, right?
We
don't drop anything here.
Well, we lose Baron here because I call to go take their blue, and I don't know.
It's a super messy game, but just moving forward a little bit to the next team fight, if you can find it. Good luck. Here we go.
Yeah. Again, Demon Girl with the freaking Orn block right here.
Yeah. Geez, where did this fight even start?
This is when
Okay. Yeah.
This
So
is back here.
just go back right to the beginning of it, just so I can catch my bearings. Okay. So I'm the main shot caller on the team for team fights specifically. So I'm the leading voice. So I remember a lot of what was happening here, and this was us trying to catch a recall. Obviously, our Syndra's we get the engage. This was such a nervous fight for us, because it was like, okay, with 5v4, we kind of have to protect this if we want to like keep any sort of gold advantage. We get the engage on the Lulu. Lulu goes down immediately, and from this point forward, we're calling disengage. Or excuse me, I'm calling disengage, and the team is seeing a different fight to me. And this is where we get really uncoordinated. This is disengage, and that was almost 10 seconds worth of we need to disengage, and we didn't do that collectively. And then the fight ends up going so awry, and I think disengage was the wrong call, but I wasn't playing it correctly as the ADC, and that's where we broke up a lot in this comms, where maybe I want to say that from shot calling perspective, it felt like we were further behind than we were, and we probably could have taken that fight. And we probably could have gotten a lot more off of it, because at the end of the day, it ends up going 4 for 3. Right? It goes positive for us. So that was a situation where we like just didn't feel right. They get a lot of their gold lead back, and then skipping forward, we get caught on a rotation into top side once. Okay, so right here, Shirley gets pulled, and then we go into the jungle here, right? And then there's the immediate catch there. And then there's a miscommunication here again. Like we think we're further behind. Demon Girl feels the need to try and protect the Hecarim that doesn't go down, and now we get engaged on because we don't have that protection from the Ornn ulti. And that's how that fight goes so quickly. And then again, like just I'm getting run down here. But like this is again a situation where in these close games, I feel like RLS as a team could not. We can't necessarily establish it's like, hey, we're this far behind at this point where we need to not take these kinds of fights, and we rotate in the jungle there. We don't realize that Warleader's going to live through that engagement, so we burn a lot of stuff trying to save him when he gets out on his own. The only thing that Braum Shield ended up blocking was 2 Lulu autos, and then the Ornn ulti comes across the whole team, kills Syndra, knocks up the Helios, and we have to try and fight for our lives on this last Nexus turret. And then again, like
somehow managed to.
Yeah, which was crazy. And then the follow-up fight to this is again like just I believe the engage comes from Demon Girl jumping forward again to try and protect somebody, and it was a Caitlyn ulti, and she drops shields for Caitlyn ulti, and again it's like we're worried about being too far behind, so we're trying to block the Caitlyn ulti, and then the Ornn engage comes again.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they understood their go buttons a little bit better.
Yeah.
Towards the second half of the game, and you know.
So there's the shield down.
So
There's shield down, there's the engage, and Syndra is still too far forward, doesn't throw out any abilities, gets killed immediately.
I'm now getting to the fight.
Yeah, anti goes in. We're just not in position for this fight, and we don't understand like playing to the other team. Whereas like I know you don't necessarily think. I think TG understood what they needed to do to win this game, and they knew from where they were what they needed to do. And I think that's why regardless of whether or not we think TG's the better team than RLS, I think that today they definitely were.
Yeah.
Not a question. And then because they were in that even situation, they just played it smarter.
This was, it was Terracotta's victory today, but it won't always be.
I think it's really reasonable to say that regardless of where it is, currently in Helios, I think that the top step of the podium is currently locked down by Rex. I think that second and third are hotly contested between RLS and TG. And I think depending on who shows up on the day, I don't see INT in that picture right now. They haven't looked consistent enough for it. And I think obviously we're looking at playoffs at this point. A lot of teams are, we are. So where INT can probably find one of those breakout moments where they're just at that 100 that we were talking about, Terracotta seems more consistent than them. And even though they have that loss to them, they look like that won't happen again. And I don't know that INT has found that stride to be consistent yet. And I would like to be surprised because more competition is awesome.
The last thing that we do is always kind of just look at the games that are coming up. The most exciting one I think is going to be Rex versus RLS, which I'm sure y'all have thoughts on that.
I mean,
oh sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna start real quick with INT versus TG. I think that one's also going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Right, because we got INT versus TG, Rex versus RLS, and then on Friday we have INT versus Rex. That's actually happening like today. So we actually got like a lot of top of the table matchups, which I think are going to be super pivotal looking towards playoffs. I think TG probably beats INT, depending on how they play on the day. I also think our game of Rex versus RLS, I think Rex should be favored going in, but I don't think it's by like this huge margin. Right.
I would agree.
We take you guys pretty seriously.
Yeah.
From a purely analytical standpoint, I would agree. From my personal standpoint, no, we got this.
I would also like to say that I think these matches on the 16th are probably the most even matchups.
Yes. I was going to say that.
Yeah. So
this is perfect.
That's the day.
Yeah, this is going to probably be one of the most exciting days, just because I think you got that girl SDC game evenly matched up there, CFG PTP, so it's going to be really, really cool. And then going into the next one, so what about Rex INT and RLS STC?
I mean, I think that those games really should go in favor of blue team in both of those cases.
You think the blue corner's got it?
We just can't figure them out, man.
No, we have no idea. We have no idea what they're doing at any point.
They're too good. We don't understand. They understand League of Legends on a different level than we do.
Yeah, no, just to give a quick rundown, I think that TG versus PTP should be a wash on the side of TG. PTP relies a lot on individual skill. TG, I think, has more of that. SCT versus RLS, we played badly versus GURL. It's possible. I don't want to write them off because we still don't know what they can do, but we have seen them perform in the past and they haven't looked incredibly strong. And then obviously I think INT versus Rex is INT's chance to kind of change my mind about what I said earlier, but it's such a hard fight for them to try and do.
Yeah. I mean, they are playing with Fish instead of Broccoli, which I think, no offense to Broccoli, but I think Fish is better. And I think, we are taking it seriously because I did say earlier that I think INTs might be the most individually talented team in the league. And I also think that is stylistically good against Rex.
Sure.
I still think we're favored. I still expect to win the game, even though I think RLS and TG are going to generally be better teams than INT. I think INT might be the hardest one for us to play personally. So, that goes.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut it here, guys. I want to say thank you all so much for dropping by. I want to say thank you to Adobe Creative Cloud and Logitech Gaming. We greatly appreciate your support. Remember to tune into twitch.tv/FOF Esports on September 16th at 4:30 Pacific time. That's when these games will be going live. It will be amazing.
It will be good.
It will be so good. Like these games in general, just tune in Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4:30 PT. Twitch.tv/FOF Esports. We're always going on. One of these days, this is actually going to start going live too on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so keep an eye out for that. With that, we'll go ahead and close it up. Have a good one.